What would happen if humans suddenly disappeared? Based on archaeological and anthropological evidence, the first human-like creatures, Homo sapiens, emerged from 2.5 million years ago in eastern and southern Africa. However, the first known complex civilization in the world did not emerge until 3000 BCE in Mesopotamia, known as Sumer. It took 3,000 years for human to evolve to our today's modern civilization we live in today. Theoretically, the time from Homo sapiens to 3000 BCE allows human to develop plenty of supermodern civilizations. Some people believe there was a number of highly intelligent civilizations developed during these years, but eventually all extinct. Many questions if there were such, why there's no trace of their modern buildings, aircraft or maybe satellite. This is somehow defined as missing link. Now, imagine that what would happen if humans suddenly disappeared. And how long will it take to completely wipe out all human creation? In just a few hours. After humans disappear, the lights around the world will shut off. Because the power plant will not be able to run. And then, the hydroelectric and solar power plant will stop working eventually, without human maintenance. 2 days later, after human vanished, horrible things will happen to the underground train systems and mall. Do you know? Over 47 million liters of water are pumped from the London Underground network every day to stop the tunnels flooding. Therefore, without electricity, the 24 hours working drainage system will stop pumping water and creates flood. 10 days later, pets and farm animals will die out due to starvation and dehydration. If they are lucky to break out the pens in search of food, they will meet a grislier fate and become food for wild dogs and cats. Many of our pets are not suited for wildlife, and eventually more resilient breeds like fox and wolf would wipe them out. Rats and cockroaches would sorely miss the trash we produce, and their population would plummet. 1 month later. Due to lack of coolant, the core of nuclear power plant becomes so hot that it melts. That is what we call meltdown. The cooling water turns into steam that reacts with the metal, and causing series of explosions much stronger than the Fukushima and Chernobyl disasters. The explosion leads to the contamination to the planet with radiation. 1 year later. Even when satellites are thousands of miles away, Earth's gravity still tugs on them. Without the momentum from the rocket, the satellites circling the Earth would fall from orbit and burn. According to Union of Concerned Scientists, there are more than 2,000 operational satellites currently in the orbit around Earth. Without human, the sky will light up with the objects within 1 year, creates thousands of comet phenomena. After humans' disappearance, without the pollution affecting the world, from variety of sources including industry, commercial, and transportation sectors, the vegetation will be able to manufacture food better and grow faster. 25 years later. 75% of the planet paved city, streets, sidewalks and even buildings will be covered in vegetation. When the gray cities turn into green, there will be more wild herbivorous animals entering the cities, and then, there will be larger predators. The cities will become forest again. There is one real-life example of what happened to the city, when human completely disappeared. The Chernobyl disaster. 1986 in Pripyat, Ukraine. It is considered the worst nuclear disaster in the history, that causing 50 people died, and 4,000 may die, in future of radiation-related issues. About 300,000 people were evacuated from the area. The city was abandoned. 30 years later, the human-free landscape is now a heaven for plants and animals. According to the international researchers, counting actual animals from helicopters, found increased in the populations of elk, deer, and wild boar, and a 7-fold increase in wolf population, compared to similar, uncontaminated nature preserves. And all those populations had gone up, since the first decade after the accident. 300 years later. All the man-made buildings, such as tall buildings, metal towers, steel bridges, large-scale dam, and tunnel, will crumble to the ground. What about wood-made building? Most wood-made building can last for centuries with proper care, but wooden is extremely vulnerable to moisture and decay. Without human maintenance, the wooden structure buildings will collapse a lot faster, compared to brick and metal buildings. At this time, you would see the Sin City, Las Vegas and Dubai will be buried by desert. 500 years later, the world will be fully covered by vegetation. Hundreds of birds and animal species will return to their unfairly taken home. The whales, and large sea animals, will grow in population and thrive. 1,000 years later, one of the hardest artificial man-made item, plastic bags, will finally break down in the environment and decompose. And no longer a threat to the marine environments, especially birds, whales, seals, and turtles often ingest the bags then die from intestinal blockages. 10,000 years later, anything that is artificial should already disappeared. The only thing that proves human existed will be stone construction, which can last several 100,000 years, such as pyramids in Egypt, Great Wall of China, and Mount Rushmore National Memorial. Just like how we discovered the earliest Sumerian civilization, through their stone buildings, and unfamiliar words on stone. Have you ever thought of this? There could be possibility that our earliest ancestor reached to highly intelligent civilization. However, whatever methods they used to write down things disappeared. They probably knew that the only evidence to prove their existence was writing things on the stone, which can last for 100,000 years. But we were just assuming that their civilization only know how to write things on stone. 15 million years later, life will survive another form. The plant, the animal and the planet will likely heal itself. And there will be new rational species. They might not even notice there was a civilization before,